So I think a lot of times when people actually do talk about issues, it ends up being a good guy versus bad guy type of analysis, in terms of like there's a handful of bad guys over there being extra greedy, taking advantage of people, and we just need to deal with them and shame them and get them out of power. And then if we do that, then things would be better, you know. And so when Wall Street crashes, there's a handful of greedy bankers that we need to thumb our noses at. And then we'll all be angry at Bernie Madoff, and then we can move on with our lives. But in reality, that was a global systemic crash, which led to the economic crisis, not just a few people taking advantage of the otherwise healthy system. Or if people are gouged with pharmaceuticals, you might point to Martin Shkreli, if you remember who that was. He was like that young black-haired guy, like 3 or 4 years ago, who was very unlikable, very much an easy person to dislike. And everybody did dislike him, and the whole media, we said, you're very bad. But at the same time, the biggest pharmaceutical companies in the world were doing the same type of price gouging with EpiPens and many other products. And so I think when we do that, bad apple, let's get the bad apples out of the barrel so that the rest of the barrel of tasty apples can flourish, type of critique, then we don't actually analyze why the apples are bad in the first place. There's poison in the water. The whole system's corrupt. And it elevates people that end up acting like Martin Shkreli or acting like him in terms of their actions, but maybe being a little bit more covert about it so that they're not totally dislikable, like him or Bernie Madoff. But the Wall Street or the pharmaceutical industry, or go down the line, they're acting the same way, because fundamentally the problem is systemic, and there's always going to be another bad person to fill in for the one that we scapegoated for, until that is addressed. And so I did find an article which I thought was pretty related to that for fossil fuels. So this is an article from a few months ago from The Guardian, titled "JP Morgan Economists Warn Dire Climate Crisis is Threat to Human Race." Yikes. Leaked report of world's major fossil fuel financier says Earth is on an unsustainable trajectory. And so I'll just read a few relevant passages from it. So the first line is, the world's largest financier of fossil fuels has warned clients that the climate crisis threatens the survival of humanity and the planet and is on an unsustainable trajectory, according to a leaked document. The JP Morgan report on the economic risks of human-caused global heating says climate policy had to change, or else the world faced irreversible consequences. JP Morgan has provided $75 billion in financial services to the companies most aggressively expanding in sectors such as fracking and Arctic oil and gas exploration since the Paris Agreement, according to the analysis compiled by The Guardian last year. One relevant quote, "We cannot rule out catastrophic outcomes where human life as we know it is threatened," notes the paper, which is dated to January 14th. All right, so the biggest extractor of fossil fuels in the world, which is JP Morgan Chase, their own report is saying that if we keep doing this as a species, this could threaten the survival of humanity. And at the same time, they continue to, spend tens of billions of dollars on projects like the Keystone XL pipeline, which accelerates that push towards annihilation. Is that just one psychopath at the top of the pyramid that has co-opted the entire bank into acting like a bunch of lunatics trying to destroy the world? I don't think that's what it is. I don't like Jamie Dimon very much, but he's just fulfilling his role of maximizing profits for that corporation. And if JP Morgan Chase wasn't financing those projects, then Wells Fargo would be, or Bank of America would be, or 100 other medium-sized banks would be, because the ones that do that and can make the most money end up increasing their market share and conglomerating into or buying up the other banks and end up being the biggest ones. And that's just how the system works. And so if we don't address the system, then that's just what's going to keep on happening. Here's a fun little anecdote I came across a second ago. So the original JP Morgan, who everybody loves, he was a great American banker, he got caught during the Civil War. He actually didn't get caught. He just made a ton of money doing this. He paid first. He paid $300 to a substitute to fight for him. That's probably a good move by the man. And then buys 5,000 rifles for $3.50 each and sold them back to the Union Army for $22 a piece. Now, they happened to be defective, and some of them shot off the thumbs of the soldiers that were firing them. But that doesn't matter because he was being a good capitalist, and he made a lot of money. And if there was other more consciously minded financiers, they weren't the ones that ended up founding the biggest bank in the world, because they'd be outcompeted by him. And so that's a systemic problem. That's not a Bernie Madoff problem. That's not a Martin Shkreli problem. That's a American economic system problem, or global economic system, maybe a capitalism problem, but that's a little bit edgy if you want to go that far. And so I think that we need to address it.